Hola chicos, Professor Street aquí con otro video. Este video es muy importante, super important chicos. Tener y tener que infinitivo. I cannot express how important this verb structure is. Tener que infinitivo. We will get into it a lot more. But the verb tener you guys have seen, but let's look at it through context. That's how we learn, through context and stuff. So let's see this conversation with Ivan, y Juan Manuel. ¿Tienes clase ahora? No, estoy en la cafetería. Tengo hambre. Yo tengo hambre también, mucha hambre. So let's think, what does the verb tener mean? Let's look at the context. So it's Ivan and Juan Manuel. Does Juan Manuel have class now? So tienes means you have. Do you have class now? So Juan Manuel says, no, estoy en la cafetería. So where is Juan Manuel? That's right, in la cafetería. So if he's in the cafeteria, what would tengo hambre mean? He has hunger, right? But we don't really say that in English. We would say he is hungry. I am hungry. Tengo hambre. Yo tengo hambre también. Mucha hambre. There's a few uses incorporated here with tener that we're going to get into. This is one of the most used verbs in many languages. It's called a high frequency verb. And also the verb structure, tener que infinitivo, have to do something. Obligation. Super important. You hear, say, see, read, think this verb all the time. We will get into it. If you keep practicing this, you will get better. I guarantee you that. So let us go. So, el verbo tener, it's on page 40 of the ebook. I've copied this over directly from the ebook. So, let's see what we got. We need to practice our conjugations, of course. Tengo, tienes, tiene, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tienen, tienen, right? Yo tengo, tú tienes, él, ella, usted tiene, nosotros tenemos, vosotros tenéis, ustedes tienen, y ellos tienen. Same thing, right? So remember, saying these verb conjugations over and over again will help you exponentially, right? So these need to be automated, learn, not memorized, right? So the verb tener means what someone has. Tener actually means to physically possess. We'll see it also has a lot of other uses as well. So for example, ¿tienes clase ahora? Do you have class now? That's literal translation. I have the class. It's an abstract thing that I have to do, right? So sí, tengo clase ahora, right? So that's pretty easy. Yo tengo una taza, right? Yo tengo una bebida energética, an energy drink, right? These are things that I possess, right? I have. Yo tengo los Samsung earpods, right? See, yo tengo, I have these things. A little bit more abstract though, tener is used to express age. So in English, we would say are, right? How old are you? ¿Cuántos años tiene Elisa? How old is Elisa? Tiene 20 años. So Elisa has 20 years. But you see, age is an abstract concept, right? You can't physically possess age, right? So in English, we would just say, she is 20. Ella tiene 20 años. This is why if you ever speak to a person that's learning how to speak English and their native language is Spanish, you may ask them getting to know you questions like how old are you, etc. And they'll say, well, I have 20 years. Yo tengo 20 años, right? Well, that's what they're saying. Much in the same way as you'll continue to say until you keep learning it, yo soy 20 años. But it's yo tengo 20 años, right? So we're going to look at these other expressions in a little bit more detail in just a moment. But here are some other common expressions that use tener. Tienes hambre, same thing. We say, are you hungry? But in Spanish, do you have hunger? ¿Tienes hambre? No, pero tengo mucha sed. Same thing. We have hunger, thirst, cold, hot, etc. Careful, fear, right? Prisa, to be in a hurry. Razón, to be right, to be wrong. Tener mucho sueño, to be sleepy. Tener mucha suerte. Tienes suerte en el examen. Tienes suerte. Good luck, right? So to be lucky, to have luck. The most important one, however, is tener que infinitivo. This is not so much as an expression with tener, but a fundamental use of the verb in a verb structure, right? To express obligation, the need to do something, things that you have to do. So chicos, this is the most important. If you just think, remember, we want to start to understand these concepts, and the more we can think about our use of English, the more we're going to be able to manipulate and use Spanish to our advantage. This is a big deal right here, that if we can get this, we can be well on our way to actually learning another language. So we have, think about this, how many times a day do you say, think, read, see in a text, respond, things that you have to do? You're college students. Many of you have jobs, right? You're always having to do things. This is a core fundamental structure that we use in English and in most languages. It's just expressed a little bit differently in Spanish. However, it has the same semantic meaning, right? The same meaning, right? It's just the words look different, right? So remember, we got to continue to review these structures. Tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tienen, right? So what do you have to do? So the structure is tener que infinitivo, right? ¿Qué tienes que hacer hoy? Direct translation. What do you have to do today? So these questions are in a sense like mathematics, right? We don't know what you have to do. So hacer, what is X, right? We're looking for what you have to do. So we replace hacer with the actual action, right? So tengo que estudiar, I have to study. Tengo que comer, I have to eat. Tengo que ir a mi clase, right? I have to go to my class. Same thing with your friend. ¿Qué tiene que hacer tu amigo? What does your friend have to do? Remember, we don't know what the friend has to do, right? So hacer is X, right? Mi amigo tiene que trabajar esta semana. The X, what my friend has to do, is tiene que trabajar. He has to work. Mi amigo tiene que estudiar esta semana. So now you try. ¿Qué tienes que hacer hoy? Para mí, yo tengo que ir al gimnasio. Yo tengo que levantar pesas. Yo tengo que trabajar en mi oficina. Right? So I have to do these things. What about you? ¿Qué tienes que hacer mañana? Another great thing about this particular structure is that we can use the present tense to talk about the future. So we don't even need to have a handle on the future tense yet we can talk in the future. ¿Qué tienes que hacer mañana? What do you have to do tomorrow? Mañana tengo que ir a la oficina. I have to go to the office. Mi amiga tiene que jugar videojuegos. My friend has to play video games. So remember, keep practicing this structure. ¿Qué tienes que hacer? Just keep saying over and over again to really cement this understanding with tener que infinitivo, obligation, have to do something. Ok, chicos, entonces usamos tener con expresiones idiomáticas, right? So idiomatic expressions, meaning it doesn't literally mean what the words say, right? So you remember we kind of went over this, raining cats and dogs, pulling your leg. These aren't as different as that. This is have meaning to be instead of are or is. But again, let's review the conjugation. So tener, tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tienen, right? And so we went over the tener que infinitivo, which remember should be in its own category. It's much more than just a useful expression. But anyway, some of these expressions here. ¿Tienes hambre? Are you hungry? No, pero tengo mucha sed. ¿Tienes calor? ¿Tienes frío? Are you hot? Are you cold? Right? Tienes hambre, again, hunger, thirst. Tener cuidado, to be careful. Tener miedo, to be afraid, like to have fear. Tener prisa, to be in a hurry. Or tener razón, to be correct or incorrect. Y tener sueño, sleepy. And tener mucha suerte, right? And since in English these words mean I am hungry, right? So we would say very. I am very hungry, right? The adverb very modifies the verb, right? Is, am, are, etc. But here it's to have something. So we use mucho or mucha because it's an adjective, right? Tengo mucha sed. Tengo mucha hambre, right? So that's something that's a little bit different, right? So remember, these are great expressions that you can use to really speak a good bit of Spanish at a very basic level, right? So this verb tener is super important, right? The verbs that we've gone over so far that are super important, ir, tener, ser, and estar. We'll get to some more very soon as well. So vamos a practicar. Let's practice, right? So this is directly from the book. I think it's page 40 in the ebook. Let's do this together. So Beatriz and Carla are talking with a woman with a room to rent in her large house. So let's choose the correct words in parentheses and read the dialogue aloud. So the title is Motivo de ruptura, so deal breaker, right? So remember, we want to go into these activities with grounding as much of the background as we can. So it's two women talking. They want to rent a room. It's three people actually. So we know this, right? So we know what's going on. And deal breaker is the title. So there's something that's going to happen that's going to be, whoa, we can't deal with that. So Beatriz dice, Me llamo Beatriz Calvo y ella es Carla Molino. Somos estudiantes, yo blank 20 blank. So what do we see? So she's clarifying how old she is, right? Yo tengo 20 años y Carla tiene 19. So they're establishing off the front that they're adults, they can rent a room or an apartment, etc., right? So which is pretty normal. We can use anticipation about how conversations work to help us arrive at the correct answers a lot of times, right? Muy bien, aquí está el cuarto. Es grande y tiene mucha luz. So what's the subject of this is? The room, el cuarto. Since we just established in the previous sentence, we don't have to repeat el cuarto. So Carla dice, sí, tiene blank, señora, es muy grande. So she's either in a hurry or she's right? So she's going to agree. She's right. Sí, tiene razón. Es muy grande. So then Beatriz says, tengo blank. Hay teléfono en el cuarto. So would she say, I have a question or I'm hungry, right? So she's going to have a question. It follows with the question, right? Tengo una pregunta. ¿Hay teléfono en el cuarto? So she's asking if there's a phone there. No, pero ustedes blank celular, right? So remember, what does tener mean? I know we did different uses of it, but at its core, it means to have. So the lady's like, no, but it's way past the time that we would have phones in rooms. Ustedes tienen un celular. Remember the conjugations. Tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tienen, right? Third person plural or second person plural. Sí, nosotras blank celular. So she's asking if you have a phone, you all, and they clarify, yes, we have a phone. Sí, tenemos celular. And then Carla's surprised. Ugh, la temperatura está 100 grados Fahrenheit. Tengo blank. So if it's 100 degrees, you guys know these South Carolina summers, which I lived in South Carolina for quite a while. Yes, very calor. Tengo mucho calor, right? I'm very hot. Beatriz, yo también. El cuarto no blank aire acondicionado. So she's asking, does the room doesn't have air conditioner? So what's the conjugation here? Tiene, right? And then she goes on to say no, but it's kind of hard to sell renting a room with no AC, right? So they're not going to get it, of course. Okay, so how'd you do, right? You feeling pretty good about understanding the text? Tener, working with tener, meaning to have, and then the other idiomatic uses, and then of course the most important, tener que infinitive, right? Good. Now let's try to speak a little bit. So student life, la vida del estudiante. Student life can present many challenges. So let's use the verb tener and take turns reacting to each situation. So here's the model. It's midnight and you're walking alone through a dark part of campus. So look, pull up the ebook now. Keep the ebook up so you can practice these with me, right? You don't have to get them perfect. There can be errors. There should be errors. So one thing I could say, there's not one right answer to this either. We can go in many different ways. Tengo miedo y tengo cuidado. I'm afraid, I'm going to be careful. También tengo que estar responsable, right? I got to be responsible, right? So it's 2:30 a.m. You've been studying for hours for a big chemistry test. Tengo sueño, right? Tengo que dormir, right? I'm tired. I have to sleep. Well, what else did you think about? What are some other possible answers? As you wake up the next day, you're shocked to see it's already 9:55. Your chemistry test is at 10. So what's the situation here, right? Of course, tengo mucha prisa. I'm in a big hurry. Tengo que ir a clase, right? I have to go to class. It's a major obligation. Way more than a normal day. It's a test. So tengo que ir a la clase, right? This is pretty exactly what you would say in English, right? If you were to stop, you wake up right before a test, you're running, someone tries to talk to you, you're like, tengo mucha prisa, tengo que ir a la clase, right? I'm in a big hurry, I have to go to class. You made it to chemistry class, and the next two classes after that, there was no time to have breakfast or stop for coffee. So what may you say here? Tengo hambre, tengo mucha hambre, y tengo que comer. I didn't address the part about not stopping for coffee. If you're like me, you need that caffeine. So tengo sueño también. Tengo que tomar un taza de café, right? Or energy drink. You finally get to have lunch, but as you leave the restaurant, you notice the temperature has dropped. What's with the weather? So what may you say in this situation? Tengo mucho frío, tengo que ir a mi casa, right? I have to go to my house, right? Back in your superheated dorm, you settle in for another night of studying. You wonder, will they ever fix the thermostat, right? Tengo calor, tengo sueño. It's been a long day. Tengo que dormir, right? So again, the use of tener is so important that it's way super important to not only remember this verb, but to actually learn it, incorporate it, practice with it, begin to use it. Once you understand all of the uses with tener, it can really be a catalyst for your proficiency development in Spanish, right? Sure, you're probably taking the course just to fulfill the requirement. I don't blame you. But if you can get some valuable things out of it, then why not do that too? So remember, say things aloud, use your book and the resources that are permitted and available when you're doing your homework, find someone to talk to, look for opportunities to practice your Spanish, and most of all, be consistent and think about how you're doing with the language. What improvements can you see? What are you able to produce without thinking about it so much, right? These are reflective metacognitive developmental strategies that may help you. Okay, chicos, have a great day. Hasta luego. Ciao. Okay, where is it? Did it not stop? Stop recording.